Okay, anybody who's not muted, could you please do so? Okay, everybody, at 7:30, we're going to get started, and Mr. Sordillo is going to kick off the meeting tonight.
Thank you. Vina, are we all ready to go?
Looks like I see Steve, but I don't see his bright, shiny face. There he is. And are we missing anybody else? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're missing our new alternate number 2. I don't see on here.
Yes, Tina Masello.
Mm-hmm.
Vina, are you aware of if she has the correct login info?
She does, and I'm trying to text her and reach out to her right now.
Okay.
And we're all set electronically in video, Vina?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, I guess as the chairman had mentioned, we can start the meeting. It's 7:31. I call the meeting on behalf, as the borough attorney, on behalf of the board, I call the Township of Old Bridge Planning Board reorganization meeting to order. I start with the salute to the flag. If you would join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Justice for all.
And at this point, I believe we have, well, if Ms. Marcella joins us, we have 6 individual board members that we need to re-swear in, starting new terms. That is Mr. De Palma, Mr. Mamakis, Mr. Lenning, Ms. Cannon, and Mr. Petty. Is everyone here? I think
yes.
I see everyone. Okay, I'm just going to have everyone swear in the names I stated. I'll swear you in by oral oath this evening so we can participate. And then as with past practice, when you have a chance, if you can stop by the Township Municipal Building and actually sign your official oath of office and have that notarized at Town Hall at your earliest convenience when you can do so. But this evening, I will swear you in orally so that you can participate and you are officially sworn in to perform your duties as planning board member. So if all the individuals I mentioned, Mr. De Palma, Mr. Mamakis, Mr. Lenning, Ms. Cannon, and Mr. Petty can join, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Steve Mamakis,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and I will support the Constitution of the state
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of New Jersey,
New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
to the governments established
the
in the
governments
United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the
under
authority of
the
the people.
authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
faithfully,
partially,
partially,
and justly perform all the duties
justly perform all the
justly
duties
perform the duties
of the position of planning board member
of the
in
petition
the position of the planning board
position
member
of planning
to the
board
best of
member
my ability.
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much.
That was fun.
And I see Ms. Masella has joined us, so I will repeat this one more time. How you doing? Good evening. I just, what I was stating earlier is that I'm going to swear you in as a oral oath of office this evening. But when you have a chance, if you could go to town hall and sign the official written oath of office and have that notarized at town hall at your convenience at another time. But once you swear in this evening, you will be officially sworn as a planning board member. So I'm just we'll do this one last time. If you could please repeat after me. I, Tina Masella,
I, Tina Masella,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of planning board member
all the duties of planning board member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Ms. Masella.
Thank you.
Okay, next then, Vina, if you could ask for a roll call.
Mr. Marucci,
Oh, there we go. I believe Mr. Alfonso, you'll be taking the roll call. I apologize.
all good. All right, Mr. Marucci,
Here, but I can barely hear you.
Miss Cannon,
Here.
He might have froze.
Yeah, he's frozen.
You were able to do it, Joe?
Yeah, I can take over.
Actually, Joe, we have Natalie. Natalie, can you take over, please?
I have
Sure.
a little bit.
No problem. Miss Cannon,
Here.
Mr. Lenning,
Here.
Mr. Mamakis,
Here.
Mr. Zapalma,
Here,
Mr. Schmitz,
Here.
Mr. Lauer,
Here.
Mr. Renna,
here,
Mr. Pink,
here,
Hello, sorry about that.
Mr. Petty,
Here.
Miss Masella.
Here.
Thank you. And my last duties, running the meeting before I hand it over, is nomination and appointment of a chairperson for the board. I would like to open up the nominations for chairperson of the board. Do we have?
I nominate Jean Marucci.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, the nominations, can we please have a vote on the appointment of Mr. Marucci as chairperson of the planning board?
Mr. Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. DePalma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella,
Yes.
Okay, I thank you all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dean.
Thanks. And I thank you all for having the confidence in me to reappoint me for a second term as your chairman. And I'm honored by it, and I will faithfully execute the duties as all of you do. You know, all of your time, spare time, and effort that you put in is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so now we move on in the nomination process. And the next up is the vice chair. And for the vice chairperson, I nominate Barbara Cannon,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Pink. Okay, and we have a vote. Natalie?
sure. Mr. Marucci,
Yes?
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. DePalma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, thank you, Barbara, for your years
Congratulations again.
of service to this
Congratulations.
community.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
We're happy to have you. Okay, and next we move on to a nomination for the board secretary. And I would like to nominate Casey Lennon.
I'll second
I'll second.
it.
Okay, and Natalie, can we have a roll call and a vote?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes?
Ms. Cannon, Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. DePalma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all, and thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next is a little unusual. We are nominating for the vice secretary, and we would like to nominate the office of the planning department for the vice secretary position in an interim capacity until the vice secretary is back in office. So I would like someone to nominate the planning department for the interim position of vice secretary.
I'll nominate the planning department for vice secretary.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cannon. And the second
I'll second it.
by Mr. DePalma. Thank you. And Natalie, a roll call and a vote?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. DePalma, Mr. DePalma,
Sorry about that. Yes.
no problem. Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, and again, thank you, everybody, for your continued service to the community and this board. We are now going to move on to the board attorney, the nomination for the board attorney. And that nomination is for DeFrancesco, Bateman, Kunzman, Davis, and Lear. Do I have
I'll move it.
a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. Mamakis, second by Mr. De Palma. And Natalie?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes, are we getting Mr. Sardillo? So you're going to continue to be our attorney, right?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
As long as you'll have me.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody. Okay, the next appointment is for the planning consultants. And here we have 3 individual consultants. And in lieu of doing a vote for all 3, in the interest of time, we will just vote on the planning consultants as a whole. So first up is Environmental Resolution, Inc. Second is CME Associates. And third is Harbor Consultants. And again, they will be appointed as the planning consultants. And do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, because I'm just realizing now, and I know we spoke earlier, but I apologize. And Vina, maybe you can help me. Are we, is the planning board choosing between one of these 3, or are all 3 of them being appointed for different aspects?
No, so we appoint all 3, and then typically based on the application, I mean, in the past, I have been doing all the reviews, so we haven't used planning services as such, but we always appoint 3 or 4 of them, and then we pick and choose based on the project.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make sure, because I did just have a second guess in my head on that one.
Okay, no, it was good clarification. And also to further clarify, we'll be doing the same for the traffic and the engineering.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so having said that, do we have a motion for the planning consultants?
I'll make a motion.
By Mr. Pink, and a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Lenning. Natalie?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now we move on to the traffic consultants, and the same, we will nominate all 3 at the same time. And the first is Environmental Resolutions, Inc. The second is CME Associates, and the third is Rose Consulting Services. And again, all for traffic consultants. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it. I'll move
By
it.
Ms. Cannon, and a second?
I'll second it.
By Mr. Pink. Okay, Natalie?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Oh, he's
Mr.
back.
Pink, Mr. Pink,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
And did we get an official yes from Mr. Rena?
Yes.
We did, okay. I didn't hear it. Okay, moving on now to engineering consultants. And again, the 3 are number 1, Environmental Resolutions, Inc. Number 2, CME Associates, and third, Harbor Consultants, again for engineering consultants. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
By Ms. Cannon, and a second? By Mr. Lenning? Okay, thank you. And Natalie?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, and our final appointment is for Forestry Services, and this is just a single nomination, and it's Chestnut AFS. Do I have a motion?
I move
I'll
it.
second it.
By Mr. Lauer and second by Mr. Pink. Natalie?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all, and I'm sure that all of the appointees thank you as well. Now, moving on, and Vina, I may need your help on this one, to the adoptions. And there are 2022 rules of the planning board. Do you have anything to speak on this?
Yeah, sure. So the rules and for the planning board, actually nothing has changed. The rules have been the same for years now. The only change that has come about is the day of the meeting, because now we've moved from Tuesdays to the fourth Thursday of the month. So that is the only change. Everything else remains the same. I did share the rules with our board attorney, and he had a chance to review them and okay them. I see that Mayor's hand is raised. Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd be remiss if I didn't join in tonight. I'm just going to take a minute, please, to thank you all for your hard work and commitment over the past year. I can assure you that your efforts have not gone unnoticed. I've watched the meetings, and I'm very grateful to have such a wonderful group of volunteers. I'd like to welcome back Barbara, Steve, Casey, Joe. Thank you for re-upping, as they say. Thank you, our new member, Tina. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. I think you're going to be a great asset to the board. Congratulations, Dean and Barbara, for being the leaders of the group. Township professionals, the appointments that were made tonight. Mr. Attorney, thank you for all your hard work, your dedication, commitment, and most of all for your professionalism, the way you conduct yourselves and the way the meetings are conducted. I think they run smooth and effortlessly. So I think you make it a lot easier for the board members to come up with valid and decisions based on facts, based on your testimony and the way you conduct yourselves. And I couldn't be more pleased with our professional staff. And again, your efforts are producing results from this planning board, and they're having a positive impact, presently. But I think more importantly is going to be the positive impact you're having on the town's future. And when it's looked back upon, when most of us probably are not even here, we're going to be grateful that you were at this point here in Old Bridge as we continue to achieve so many good things. So again, I have to say thank you. Keep up the good work. I can't wait till we meet in person again in the new chambers. You're gonna love it. And but again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. People don't realize what an effort that you do put in. And I know you catch some grief sometimes, but you are all doing the right thing. And I thank you for your, so thank you. Thank you, Vina. And thank you, Dean, for a minute of the board's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Henry.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Much
Mayor.
appreciated. Thanks very much. Okay, so did we get a motion on the rules? Or are we done?
Yes.
Are we done discussing?
Yes, we are. Joe, unless you want to add something to it.
No, I mean, Vina, you were 100% correct. They're the same rules that we've adopted. I know a few years back when I first came on, we did a few minor changes and updates, but I reviewed them and everything looks in order. So if the board agrees, a motion and a second and a vote would be appreciated.
Chairman Minucci, could I get a question in, please?
Yes, that was Mr. Lauer.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
I'd like a clarification on page 2 of our rules on the special meetings. It says, provided notice therefore be mailed or given to each member of the board at least two days prior thereto, and provisions of open public meeting, blah, blah, blah. Does that apply to you as the chairman and the vice chairman, or does that only apply to the written request by 2 members?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, well,
I understand that the crux of it, but I don't understand the actual question itself.
well, the question is, there's a part after, if 2 members put something in writing, okay, it says that the members for a special notice should be given notice. My question is, does that notice to the members, the planning board members, have to be given from the chairman and the vice chairman, or does that only apply to the 2 members that put it in writing?
Mr. Chairman, I think I understand the question, if I may answer.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you're talking about when we're calling them special meetings. And yes, the way I read that language is that whether the special meeting is being called by the chairman, the vice chairman, or 2 members of the board, that same notice period would have applied to all 3.
Okay, thank you. That's the way I interpret. The reason I asked about that, because last December, we had 3 meetings, special meetings, and there was no discussion of those special meetings that I recall. We were just
Actually-
told there were going to be meetings via email.
So what I have been doing is, once I receive a request from an applicant, I share that with the board, and we did bring it up at a regular meeting, and we talked about it, and we decided on those days. But I do share the written request with all board members, not just with Dean. I do call him and discuss with him in advance. However, I share that with everyone, all board members.
Yes.
Yes, I remember seeing your email saying it would be discussed prior to the 3 special meetings, but it never happened. We never had a discussion that I recall.
I don't believe so. I do recollect. I am going to go back and send you a recording where we talked about it.
Yeah, because I do remember the discussion.
Okay, and that
Yeah, I
was,
remember. I could be wrong, but I do remember the discussion.
okay, I remember the email. I just don't remember the discussion. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
and we'll check the roll call too and make sure Mr. Lauer was in on that meeting.
I've only missed 1 meeting, and that was the last meeting in December. That's the
Okay.
only meeting I've ever missed.
Okay,
But I will, Mr. Lauer, I will definitely forward you the video recording or the date when it was discussed.
Okay, thank you.
okay, thanks, Mr. Lauer. Okay, so I will, if there's nothing else, I will move on the 2020 rules. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
By Mr. De Palma.
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma, Mr.
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, again, thank you all. We move on now to the minutes, and there are 4 minutes to be voted on, and they are as follows: December 7th, 2021, December 8th, 2021, December 13th, 2021, and December 15th, 2021. And again, it's pretty voluminous for that month. We had a busy month in December. So there are 4 meeting minutes to vote on. And so if I could have a motion
I'll move it.
by Mr. Lenning and a second
I'll second it.
by Mr. Pink.
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
I think I was absent for one of them. But I don't remember which.
Ms. Cannon, I think you came, I don't think you were absent. I think you just
I
came.
think I came late.
Yes.
Yeah, I
believe the
came late, so
December-
I couldn't vote. All right, so I'll just abstain.
I may have
from
been
that
absent for
then.
one of them, if I recall.
Well, and now that Barbara brings that up, I think I missed one of the meetings as well.
Me too.
Made them all.
I just can't remember which out of the four.
Was that the one now that you said you missed?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
But I believe, Mr. Sordillo, I believe as a, you know, as a group minutes, we can still vote, even though we may have missed one.
Yeah, I think what we'll do, just to keep things moving forward is, I would just ask when we go through the vote, just identify that you are voting yes, but abstaining from the minutes that you were absent from. We'll keep the record that way.
Okay. So then I'm going to revise mine to state that. I just don't remember which one I missed. I think it was the 8th. I think it was
15th.
December 8th.
It was the, I believe, Dean, it was the 15th. You missed the same one as I did. But Mr. Sodillo, I watched because I was home ill, so I watched it on TV. So I'll vote through it. So I did see the meeting.
Actually, that's correct. I did watch it also on YouTube.
Yeah, I was too sick to watch,
I don't
but I
know.
will. I'll either read the transcripts or I'll watch.
Okay, so I guess, why don't we, just to be clear for the record, let's start the roll call again. Through it.
sure. Chairman Marucci,
Yes, with the exception of, as per Mr. De Palma, his memory is better than mine. December 15th.
I want
Ms.
to go off
Cannon,
that.
Yes, but for the meeting that I came late and wasn't able to vote.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes, except for the last meeting of that month, which I believe was the 15th.
Mr. Rena,
Yes, with exception to the one meeting that I missed.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
and that's it. Ms. Masella is our new member.
Yes, okay. Okay, very good. Thank you all. And now we move on to resolutions. And on the agenda, there's a Regency Centers Acquisitions LLC, which is now off the agenda. I don't know if anybody has a revised agenda, but that's been scratched. So the agenda, the resolution we are voting on is 28-2021P, Yulin Wu. And if I could get a motion on that
I'll move it.
by Mr. Lauer, and second
I'll second it.
by Mr. Schmitz.
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
I'm not sure I was here for that one.
Mr.
Oh,
Lenning,
yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So that takes care of all that. And the final item on the agenda is the completeness waivers. And there is one, and it is 46-2021P. It's Aldercrest Development Corp. And it's minor site plan. Waiver items 9, 16, 17, 19, 21, 40C, 41A, 41B, and 52. And if we have a representative here from Aldercrest,
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Good evening,
Bob
Mr.
McGowan,
McGowan.
representing Aldercrest. Thank you.
good evening.
Good evening. We have a letter of recommendation from Avina, and we are, we're in support of that letter. We agree with it. We concur.
Okay, Vina, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yes, sure. So this is a minor site plan application. The applicant is proposing to add a tiny, so they're proposing to add roughly 500 square feet of storage space to the rear side of the building and a detached garage, two-car garage, which is roughly 600 square feet. They are also proposing to restripe the parking lot and repave it, because right now the parking lot is in poor condition. There is some cracked paving. So these are minor changes to the site, and the waivers actually they are proposing, since it's a fully developed site, the waivers they're proposing are related to sewer main, water supply. It's an existing site. So I fully recommend that the board grant those waivers.
Okay, so the work going on is just repair to existing. There's no extension of the parking lot or any new work going on?
No, in fact, I was just talking to the engineering office this afternoon, and we evaluated it. The impervious coverage is actually going to reduce by the improvements that they are making on the site.
Okay.
So, yes, that is why it's minor in nature.
And the reason that the impervious coverage is going to be reduced is because we're reducing the amount of the parking area because we have excess parking.
Yes.
And offsetting that with the addition to the building and the two-car garage.
Gotcha. Okay. Do we have any more questions or comments from our board professionals? Okay, how about from the board members? Any questions or comments?
I do. Mr. McGowan, where is this site located at?
This is the Bernetti Organization main office on Route 9.
Okay, I know where it's at. Thank you.
How you do? Good evening.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, now, Mr. McGowan, are you the only witness tonight?
I'm just representing it as the attorney. I'm not even here as the witness. I'm concurring with Vina's recommendations.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, so we would just like to open it up to the public for any questions they may have for Mr. McGowan.
Sure.
Okay, Vina, if we don't see any raised hands, I'll just give it a few seconds.
No raised hands.
All right, we'll give it the obligatory 30 seconds. And if there are no raised hands, we will close out the public portion.
No raised hands.
Okay, I think we'll, at this point, we'll close out the public session, being that there are no raised hands. Okay, so I think that sums up that agenda item, and we can move to a vote. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
By Ms. Cannon, and a second
By me, Ed Lauer.
by Mr. Lauer.
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella,
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGowan, and sorry I called you a witness.
And that's fine. Thank you, members of the board, and congratulations to everyone who was reappointed and the new appointments, and we look forward to appearing before you. Thank you.
Thank you, be well.
Take care now. Bye.
Okay, and before we adjourn, I would again like to thank everybody. Mr. Sordillo, you look like you have something to say.
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to cut you off, but we do have to speak about actually, interesting enough, special meetings. There's some new special meetings that we're looking to potentially schedule for February and March. I know we're actually looking at two special meetings in February, excuse me, February 16th and then February 23rd, but 23rd was decided against moving forward with that date since we have a regular scheduled meeting that following day on the 24th. So we overloaded the board in December. We're trying not to do so moving forward. So in speaking with Vina earlier today, I believe we are looking, and we've already been cleared by all the board professionals, but we are looking to potentially schedule a special meeting February 16th. And then instead of that other meeting in February, I believe, and Vina, correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking to potentially schedule a special meeting March 7th. Was it 7th?
Yes, that is correct.
And we just wanted to bring that up for board discussion at this point. Both of them will be dealing with the SEGME redevelopment applications, I believe.
Now, Vina, correct me if I'm wrong, I think during our discussion you mentioned that there may be a possibility that the agenda may open up for the regular February meeting, and we may be able to slide segment in there.
That is correct. So the plan is that I would schedule, because there are 3 applications for SEGME, right? And I would schedule their second application on the February 24th meeting. And then the third one, the second could be carried to the third date, as well as the third application can be heard on March 7th.
Okay, and when will all this be finalized?
I didn't understand the question.
When will the dates be finalized? When will we really know if there's room in the regular meeting?
So we will send an updated agenda. We are going to add SEGME, the Board of Ed property, to the February 24th meeting. And if the Bright Point Housing presents their case and they are able to wind up, then SEGME is the second application and they get to start, and then they would be able to conclude on March 7th and start with the Jake Brown Road project.
Is it
okay?
March
So if that,
7th,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Schmitz.
Is it March 7th, a Sunday? I have a calendar in front of me.
I have it as a Monday.
I believe it's a Monday. March 7th is a Monday.
What year is your calendar, Mr. Schmitz?
22. Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to say I'm going to be out of state on the 16th. I'm going to take my Chromebook with me, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to navigate getting in. But so hopefully I won't be the one to make a quorum. But.
Okay. One comment or question I have: if we do have SEGME in the regular meeting and it runs long, we will I'll use my discretion to pick a cutoff point somewhere at the 10 o'clock mark, not to, so as not to burn everybody out at 11 o'clock at night.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Is that acceptable to Mr. Sordillo and Vina, Ms. Sawant?
Yeah.
So, Chairman Marucci, in the past, and this is usually planning board meetings are still and at a decent time, but what the zoning board sometimes does is if there are 2 applications, they divide the time into 2 halves at a certain cutoff. They start the first one, they let the second one start, and then those dates. If SEC may ask for a special meeting, then they carry on to continue to the March 7 meeting, and Brightpoint would get the next regular meeting.
Well, see, in the past on this board, and I don't know how we can handle it from, going forward, but we've always let the first applicant finish, and then whatever time the second applicant has, we just continue it to the next meeting. But if that's something you want to adjust and do it the way the other board does it.
Actually, the decision is yours. The chairman controls how it's conducted.
Yes,
So,
but I'd like to get consensus. I'd like everybody to agree before I make an arbitrary decision.
And the second applicant is always notified that it is at the board and the chairman's discretion as to how the meeting will be conducted. So the second applicant, regardless of who it is always prepared that there is a chance that they will not be heard and will be carried to the next date. So that's usually.
Okay, in the instance, if we make the change, the first applicant would have to be notified as well. Correct? That if they're going past the cutoff time that we have determined, let's say we give them each an hour and they run long, they would have to be informed that we have the option to cut them off as well and hear the beginning of the second applicant.
Again, that is your decision and you can announce it at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's what I was about to say as well. When you ask about cutting off time, it's discretion, and I totally fully understand and agree. Getting the board's consensus as well. But as long as it's notified at the beginning of the meeting that the applicants, everyone there knows what the procedure is going to be, then it's not an issue.
Okay, and Vina, I guess you and I, getting closer to the meeting, we'll have a discussion on Brightpoint and kind of get a feel to how long we think the meeting will be. If it's really extensive. And then we will give SEGMA the opportunity to be heard as well.
That is correct. And in fact, Chairman, I just wanted to add on, actually for the professionals, it works in our interest if you have a cutoff, because we are the ones who have to drive back late in the night. So if you tell me 10 is the cutoff, I will be more than happy.
Okay.
So, and I am, we definitely are anticipating going back in the courtroom soon. So when it is an in-person meeting, it really helps the professionals. So again, it's your decision, and I will stay in touch with you and we will talk.
Yeah, and if I can speak openly to the board, I had a discussion with Vina earlier today, and I told her she needs to take a deep breath. Vina's working her tail off, as is all of the planning department, and doing her work on Saturdays and Sundays, and just really, really working hard. And I'll do anything, Vina, to help you out if you prefer. I think that's a great idea. We gotta take some of that weight off your shoulders.
Also, I agree, and I thank everybody from the planning office. I know that they've had a lot on plate, and they were short-staffed. Now I think they've got some good help. But also in the past, I was always told by Ernie that we headed for a 10 o'clock cutoff, but if they're in the middle of testimony or whatever, we go to 10:30, but we usually don't go beyond 10:30. I thought that was helpful, because I think you get sort of, after 3 hours, a little burned out. But that,
you get burned out.
Is Dean's decision, but I think that's what we sort of trying to follow it.
Okay. And Chairman, what I recollect too is that our TV turns off at 10 o'clock.
Correct.
So what happens is the public who is watching the meeting on TV does not get to watch the remainder. So past 10 o'clock, they're unable to watch it. So that is another concern too.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll do a hard line, between the two applications, and then we'll cut it off as close to 10 as possible. But again, if they're in the middle of a testimony, we'll allow that to go, and then at the appropriate time, we'll make the motion to move it continue it to the next meeting. Okay.
Chairman
discussion. I'm sorry.
Chairman Marucci, in our rules of planning board, that what you just discussed is in there, but Vina was right. it is up to your discretion, but they do discuss that in our rules.
Yes.
Now, another question I have, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a lot of issues that were left unfinished with the SIGME, I hope I'm saying it right, on their last meeting, right? And are they caught up to be on for a special meeting?
So we have been working very closely with them. We had a couple of meetings. They're really working hard towards putting a submission together. In fact, the planning office has already received their revised final plans for the Glenwood Country Club property. So yes, they have been working with our traffic consultant, our engineering, with ERI associates, myself. So yes, there has been a lot of work that has been accomplished in the last 1.5 months.
Yeah, Mr. Lauer, you can thank Vina for driving that bus.
I know, she's a hard worker, I know that. My question is, if they had to be before the board tonight, would they be ready to go with the one for the February 16th meeting?
I don't believe so, because we were still fine tuning some of the things. We just had a meeting last week to finalize some of the landscaping, because as you may recall, landscaping was one of the concerns, and we have been working very closely with them to get all the ducks in a row before it comes to us.
You're confident that by February 16th, they'll be ready to go?
See, it works in their best interest. If they're not ready, it's not like we are going to let something just slide through.
Right.
So me as the township planner and ERI as the township consultant, as well as Nicole, we have our eyes on it. So if there is something they're not prepared with or they didn't address, they will have to come back or rework on it. So
now, my final sensitive question is, will I be able to get a hard copy, a paper copy, to bring home with me to take wherever I want, to look at these plans to make a good decision with what information I have?
Mr. Lauer, if I may, we should talk about this on a sidebar and not make it part of the public portion of a meeting. This is something internal that we will talk about.
So, well, no, the reason I ask is because it's in the land development ordinance that they're supposed to supply paper copies. It's in the ordinance.
Yeah, Mr. Lauer,
I'm going to answer that.
I'm sorry, Vina. I was just going to say, when Vina had asked us if we wanted to go, electronic, that at any time, if we needed something, we can go up to the planning office and they would supply it for us.
And I understand that people that want to go electronic, fine. But I find that the paper copy is the tool of my preference to work with. And if it's in the land development order, I don't expect the developer to send them to everybody, but the post office still delivers mail. Why can't I get one sent to my home or anybody else that would prefer one?
Mr. Lauer, talking about the ordinance, I have explained to you before. In fact, among the numerous things that I have been fixing in the land development ordinance, and I have been going and presenting it to the council, that is one thing on my list, because it is a checklist requirement. And there are many things, like if you look at the minor site plan checklist or the C variance checklist, there are a lot of documents which we really don't require or is unnecessary. And I am looking at reducing the checklist. The paper copies will also be reduced. So there will be a change in the ordinance. I was talking to Nicole, the Director of Community Development, because the surfaces were distributed even before I came to Old Bridge. And when we bought the surfaces, the idea was to move to paperless and get more used to reviewing them digitally. Most of the towns I know are slowly working towards it. I know of some of the towns I've worked for them, they are completely digital. Even as a consultant, they would not offer me a paper copy because they want to save paper. We're working hard. Most of these plan sets are so huge that mailing is a challenge too. Mailing these copies and then throwing them out. I explained to you before, in December, the amount of paper the planning office discarded was unbelievable. So, and that is why I want to go review the checklist. We require 12 full-size sets, 8 reduced size sets. It's too much paper. I want to just go through the checklist, reduce it down. However, there are copies in the planning office. They are easily available. I can display them in the conference room for anybody to come and view them. And we can find a solution to this. But again, Natalie had sent an amazing email outlining how these documents are available online. She took a lot of effort in writing that email, but there are 3 places where they are available digitally, but also they are available for you to come and review them in the planning office. So please feel free to stop by. We'll try to assist you every possible way. And once we have the checklist refined, we will open it up to discussion again.
Okay, well, I appreciate your offer, but again, on a weekend or a weekday night, when I want to look at the plans, I'm really out on a limb. And if you remember, when Sigme, the engineer, was bringing up the information on his computer, he had a tough time bringing it up to the pages that he wants. And I'm sure his computer is a little more powerful than the one I'm looking at right now. So, and zooming in and zooming out doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, but I appreciate your offer. I'd still like to have a paper copy if I could. Mail to me, or I'll pick it up.
Okay, thank you for your input, Mr. Lauer.
Thank you.
One last thing I would like to bring up, and I don't want to extend the meeting any more than is necessary, but I'd like to talk quickly about, we talked about the time limits for the applicants. So I'd like to talk about time limits for the public as well. And Mr. Sordillo, I know there's something that's been memorialized, and I believe there's a difference between the public comments and questions. So if we could just take 2 minutes to talk about that.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chairman. There's actually, with the planning board, there's actually 3 different public input sections. When it comes to the applications and public hearings on applications, there is the questioning of the applicant's witnesses. And then the second is at the end of the applicant's case, there is the public comment and testimony period where the public's allowed an opportunity to provide testimony and even provide its own witnesses in response to the application. And then in the third instance, it's just under the general Open Public Meetings Act requirements, is that every meeting of any public body of the municipality has to provide a general public comment period where the members of the public can address the board over any issue under its jurisdiction. It doesn't have to be limited to what applications are there. It could be a question about a future application or a prior approval or anything along those lines of pending litigation. Not that we might be able to answer pending litigation, but so there's actually, when we have a public hearing on an application, there's actually going to be 3 points for public input. When it comes to public comment, meaning comment to an application or the general public comment, the board has the ability to limit that testimony. But also in certain circumstances that can and should be adjusted. So for example, if you have an objector and an objector's attorney to an application, while the board may limit comments to 5 minutes, the board really in providing the objector the adequate time and the objector to address and present any witnesses, it's obviously going to go beyond 5 minutes. So usually in most boards that I've been before or represented, they do put a general time limit of whether it's 3 or 5 minutes per public comment. There is, usually a provision that allows for exceptions when it comes to, like I said, if they're having and it doesn't have to be an attorney either. A member of the public can hire a professional engineer and ask them to testify before the board as an objector as well. Doesn't have to be done through an attorney. So we have to take that into consideration when enforcing that time limit. With regard to questions, it becomes a little bit harder when the questioning of witnesses to enforce a time limit, because a lot of that time could be eaten up by an answer. You could ask, the witness could, or the member of the public could just ask for a simple question that may only take 10 seconds to ask, but the witness goes on for 10 minutes to answer the question. And so they may have some follow-up questions, but it wasn't that, the member of the public's, really their time limit going on some of the answers, because sometimes it might just trigger a conversation between the board and the applicant, that one question. And now, 10 minutes have passed, but it really that member of the public only had 10, 15 seconds to ask their question. So in those, once again, you have to kind of more take discretion at the time. The big thing on public questioning of witnesses that I've noticed that boards really enforce is duplicate questions. Limiting and refusing to allow the public to ask the same questions every time. This happens a lot of times when there's a lot of publics in objection, and a lot of times they just, and I've seen it on both sides, representing boards and representing applicants, where the members of the public, part of the strategy is ask the same question over and over again to delay. But that's not the best interest of the public or the board, because the board's going to make a decision best interest of the board, best on the information presented, and best interest of the township. So in those instances, it's the best for the board to limit that. And Chairman, however it needs to be done, or Ms. Cannon in your absence, needs to just limit that when it comes up, because that's the way to limit questioning, is to say, if you're asking the same question 6 times, or you're the 6th person to ask the same question, we cut that off. We say no more of that. Unless you have a novel question, we're going to move on to someone else.
And the same would apply too if someone gets too wordy and keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over again. We have the discretion to say, hey, listen, we've already gone over that, and can you please move on to something else?
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
my question, sorry, Dean, my
Go ahead,
question,
Steve.
does it have to be presented as chairman in the open public portion, that he states a time limit at that particular time? Of course, when somebody's asking a question and their engineer or lawyer is responding, that's a different case. Does it have to be set up front that this period of time is going to be 5 minutes or 3 minutes? Because when somebody's talking, all of a sudden you turn around and say, your time's up, but nobody set a parameter of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I will set that expectation, at the beginning of every time we open up comments and questions to the public. I will set that expectation, and hopefully I'll set the tone that, we're not going to put up with like we said in the segment meetings, that we're not going to put up with harassment of the board members or anybody getting, too overly emotional and trying to push us around and trying to pigeonhole us. And we will, I'll be pretty strong on that.
But the question is, do you have to set up front, this
Yes.
is a 3-minute time frame or a 5-minute?
Yes, and I will.
Well,
I will set that
like we do in
expectation.
council, just like we do on council meetings.
Yeah.
When you read the Open Public Meeting Act, we say that you are limited to X amount of time, only one person up there at a time now, blah, blah, blah.
So, Mr. Sordillo, if you want to start with that, and then when I take over, I can reiterate, and let them know. We just have to set the tone. We have to let them know that we're not going to, allow, just the nonstop banter that sometimes goes on in these emotional cases.
Yes.
Also, I think it's helpful. I know in the past, when we've had really contentious meetings in person in the chambers, if the attorney at some point may step in if things just, keep going on. They seem to respond to that, if things just aren't concluding or in a way that's, agreeable. So you may just want to keep that in mind, Joe, to step in if things get rowdy.
So Mr. Sordillo has a bigger gavel, a heavier gavel than I do.
Well, he's a lawyer, so. Of course, that could
All right.
be
Yeah,
a plus
we'll
or a
handle it together. It'll
minus.
be like a WWE tag team thing. We'll handle
There
it
we
together. Okay. All right. I want to thank Steve for bringing that up as well. And I think that's that seems to be about it. Correct?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Lenning?
Yes. Two things. So I find the splitting the time between two applicants really interesting because especially as these longer applications drag on, it's hard to stay engaged sometimes. So if you like take that break and then, you start to hear, something else, it gives you time to reflect on it. So, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that might be, a breath of fresh air for the board.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
To have that, in your pocket. And then, I attend the council meetings, most of the time, 3 minutes is sufficient, so I don't know if we're able to set that 3-minute limit, but have the discretion to extend it because you do have some, residents that really do have a lot of legitimate questions. So I wouldn't want to cut them off. But then when you do get the banter, then we would have that authority to stop that. So
yeah, and you make a good point. If we set it at 3 minutes, then it's okay to extend it to 5, but you don't want to set it at 5 and then have to extend it to 7.
Yeah.
So if we set the expectation at 3, we can always, seem like heroes and extend it a little bit for them.
How about a mic cutoff button?
Or like the Gong Show, the hook that used to come in. Yeah.
That won't go over well. I don't.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
If it's 3 minutes, you may want to give them like a 30-second warning. So this way they know to start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah. Very good idea. Okay, anybody else?
I actually just wanted to make a quick comment. I'm sorry that I couldn't fill in for Vice Secretary tonight. I've been having a lot of internet issues, but moving forward, I'll be able to fix this problem for future planning meetings. So I apologize to everyone. And I want to thank Natalie for stepping in. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and if it makes you feel any better, it's not only you. I've been noticing a lot of it's been a little tiling and spotty and freezing up a little bit. I know Mr. De Palma froze up a time or two. And I think that was his computer. I don't think that was him.
That was just me. I just froze.
You're excused.
Okay.
After.
So, Mr. Chairman, the only other thing we have to do before adjournment is, and I'm always the bad person, or not, it depends on how you look at it. When on our late meetings, I always come out as the bad person, but because everyone's ready to go. But we just have to open up to the general public comments period.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a ton of hands waving at this one.
What's the time limit?
3.
Yeah. Okay, Vina, we'll open it up to public comments. And again, the obligatory 30 seconds.
I don't see any raised hands. For some reason, I see Mr. McGowan's hand raised. I don't know if he's waiting. Yes, I see him.
Yes, the only reason is because everyone was talking about the special meetings. Are we still on for February 16th? And then I want to let the subcommittee realize that we do have the minor site plan to be looked at on, I think, February 16th.
So, Bob, usually we don't discuss the date at the meeting, but tomorrow morning you should be getting a letter from me giving you the date. And now that you've asked, yes, I'm planning to schedule the minor site plan meeting on February 16 because we anyways have a public hearing that night. So we could, because I have a couple of minor site plan applications lined up. So yes, you would be scheduled for February 16th.
All right, very good. I appreciate that. And if I won't respond because hopefully I'll be landing in Aruba by the time you send out your email tomorrow.
You got an extra ticket?
I had to change from Saturday to tomorrow because of the incoming storm, and it's been one heck of a process. Plus,
That's a shame. Yeah, I feel bad for you.
I know. Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant evening.
I have a question.
Yes,
I have
Mr.
a question.
Schmitz.
Do we have a minor site plan committee? Did we appoint one?
Yeah, we didn't appoint committees.
Yep, that was not on the agenda.
But I was under the impression that the minor site plan committee is appointed by the council. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm
it's
just,
No, we did it here.
so is there a way we can handle this or?
Well, one thing we could do is have that on the agenda before moving
The
forward.
next meeting.
We do this minor, I'm sorry, I just, kind of think out loud, because we do the minor site plan committee before the regular hearing, correct?
Right, because we have February 16th special meeting. Thank you, Mr. Schmitz. Thank you so much for bringing it up. Otherwise, I would have definitely missed it because Natalie, myself, and Brian, we are learning each day and trying to improvise. So thank you so much for bringing it up.
Well,
But
what we
Joe,
can do
is there-
is make the appointment now. We can,
Yes, that's what I was
and
suggesting.
then memorialize it by resolution.
Yes. So with the minor site plan committee, I believe it's Mr. Schmitz, Mr. Lauer, and there's one more person, Casey. Is that you who attends? I know Mr. Lauer attends, Mr. Schmitz attends. I need your help.
And who was the third?
I think it was me.
Oh, sorry,
Mr.
Steve.
Yes,
So
it's Mr.
perfect. So we
Menachos.
have 3 members.
So do we have, I guess, if there's no objection, do we have a motion to appoint Mr. Schmitz, Mr. Lauer, and Mr. Mamakis to the minor site plan committee?
Okay, yes, anybody to move it?
I'll move it.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay, there were 3 that chimed in, so I'll pick one. Mr. Pink. And do I have a
I'll move
second?
it. I'll second it.
Can someone move it in second? The same person move in second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second it.
Okay, Mr. Arana. See, Mr. De Palma, your computer's a little sketchy and you're not getting in there on time.
It's all right.
I actually said
So
I
we'll need a
was
roll
on it,
call.
but
Okay, we need a roll call, Natalie.
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
yes.
Mr. ZaPalma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
And I apologize, I was trying to get it up in time, but I just finally got the ordinance up on the subdivision and site plan committee. And it actually is to consist of 4 members and they are appointed by the chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, if you would, we've already had a motion and a second and a vote, which I assumed you, since you voted in favor, you're in agreement with. So, but Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to appoint a 4th member, that would complete the committee.
Can you appoint yourself?
Yeah, I will, if I could, I'll appoint myself.
Yeah. There's no restriction on that.
Okay, I will appoint myself then.
Okay, so now we have
Appoint
a
that.
complete site plan in subdivision and site plan committee.
I'm sorry?
The point Mr. Chairman, the point I was making is my name was the other name. I didn't need to be back on it if you wanted to appoint somebody else, but I'm fine.
Are you okay on, Steve? Because if not, we can find someone
it's
else.
just fine. Fine.
Okay. Okay.
What
All right.
about the other committee? There's a master plan committee and,
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing. While we're at it, do we have any others to go through?
I think what we can do is for the next meeting, we will have it ready so that the board can take a vote. The minor site plan application, I wanted to do it today so that we can schedule the applications. But at the next meeting, we can take nominations because I want to go through the previous nominations and not waste the board's time.
Okay. Now, will this be at one of the special meetings or a regular meeting?
can we do it at the regular?
We do it at the regular meeting because but the special meeting is 16th and the regular is 24th. So at the beginning of 24th meeting, we could just do the nominations.
Okay, and it'll be on the agenda, so we'll all be aware of it.
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
very good.
All
Okay,
right,
now,
Joe, you have anything else?
well, now, Mr. Sordillo, do we have to reopen now to the public again, or?
No, we've, you did that public comment period could be at any point in the meeting. It just usually ends at the end. But at any point in the meeting, it's, as long as we've done it and we're opened and we allow the public comment period, then we're meet the requirements of the statute.
Okay. So that's about it. Okay. Although it was a short meeting, it's been very productive, and again, I would like to thank all of you for your commitment, recommitment. Ms. Marcella, a new member coming on, and Natalie and Brian and everybody that's stepped up and puts their time forth for the cause that we are here for our township and our community. So I again thank everybody.
I just
All right,
wanted
so-
to say welcome to Tina because it's good to have another woman on the board. We haven't had one for a while, so even though we have
I can put a
all
wig
of our
on if you
staff
want.
are, but it's nice.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Women
Yeah, welcome.
have a different perspective about planning.
Okay, anything else? No? Okay, so do I have them? And Mr. Sordillo, we're ready to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
By Mr. Pink, and I will second. Okay, Natalie, roll call?
Chairman Marucci,
Yes.
Ms. Cannon,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Zapalma,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Renna,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Ms. Masella.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, meeting adjourned, and we'll see you next time.
Be careful in the snow, everybody.
Good night.
Everyone have a good
Good
evening.
weekend. Good night.
You too, take care.
Happy snow.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
I just think she just. I think if I can talk to her about it.